Hello. Let me know if everybody can hear me. Hey, Maddie. This is our first round of community voices. I'm just writing the title. How's everyone today? Happy Pride. My name is Kaitlyn Weaver and I am on Skate Canada's Instagram. This is crazy. I feel very powerful. Okay, I think I did it. Now I think I have to pin. Okay, getting it. Now I have to add somebody. Okay, invite to join. Chime in.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Miss
Everybody.
Kaitlyn.
Hello, Miss Eliot.
Hi.
Everybody, welcome to the first Community Voices by Skate Canada. We are here to celebrate everything Pride, queer, Indigenous. Happy June. So much to celebrate. And I am so happy to introduce, many of you already know, but some of you who don't, this is Eliot Halverson. I'm so happy that you're here, and I can't wait to get into it with you.
Hi, Kaitlyn. Hi, Skate Canada. Thank you so much for having me. Happy Pride to everybody.
Yes, and I want to start by also saying that my pronouns are she, her, and I'm coming from the traditional ancestral territory of the Lenape people. And Eliot?
So beautiful. My name is Eliot Halverson. My pronouns are she, her. I am loudly and proudly trans non-binary. And I get to skate with Kaitlyn every day at Chelsea Piers Sky Rink in Manhattan. Kaitlyn and I have known each other since we were little baby skaters, so we go way back. And now we find ourselves in New York City all these years later as two queer people in the Pride community. So this is a big month for us.
This is huge. And honestly, you know, this isn't part of my notes, but I'm so proud to share the ice with you every day. And I'm so proud to also be part of the fabric of Chelsea Piers, where it's such a diverse environment. And it's so beautiful to see so many people feeling at home on the ice.
Absolutely. No, I'm so happy to be able to teach with you and just like be on the ice. The energy is always so positive and creative. And you've been a great addition to the Chelsea Piers family. So glad you're there.
Thank you. Thank you. So let's jump into it. Eliot, can you tell us a little bit about your experience in skating?
Wow. Big question. But yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Start from the beginning.
Yeah. So I think like big picture, I was a Team USA competitor for many years. I was a 3-time national champion in the US. I was a junior world team member with Kaitlyn and Andrew. I think it was your first junior worlds together. Isn't that true?
Yes.
Yeah, in Oberstdorf. Yes, all those years
Way
ago.
back.
Way back. Yeah. So those are kind of my like competitive highlights or whatever. I retired at 19 years old. I've been teaching in New York City for over 10 years now, which is wild to think about. But yeah, so I think about maybe 3 years ago at this point, I came out as trans non-binary. And so my whole skating experience was very removed from that experience. But I have been trans my whole life. That it has been a part of my whole experience. And so I think maybe even that's an important clarification that, even when people come out as trans later in life, they've been who they are all along. And it takes us some time to find the words, to find the vocabulary, to find the courage, to feel safe, to come out and let everybody else know what you've known about yourself all along. So I was able to articulate thoughts, very profound thoughts about my gender as young as like 3 years old. So at 3, I was going to my parents and saying, when people tell me I'm a boy, that like, that's not right. Like, that's not who I am. And, growing up in a religious community, religious household, I was speaking from the lens of religion too. And I was saying that God had made a mistake. And I was very fortunate to grow up in a very supportive family where I could express my gender and my true authenticity from the jump. And I was very, very supported in my household. And the first time I really got some kind of resistance or heard that, people who were different like me were not necessarily going to be as accepted was when I entered the skating community. Skating is a very gendered sport. There are a lot of rigid lines everywhere you look, left and right, and a lot of those pertaining to gender. And I was just told that I was very different. I was very flamboyant. I was very feminine. And the message that I was hearing very, very early on was that I was gay, and that, you know, that little feminine little kid over there is, look how gay they are. And they're like so gay. I mean, I was just like told that I was the like epitome of gayness. And not that there's anything wrong by that, but my voice up until that point, the voice that was inside of me was speaking to my gender, which is a different topic from sexuality. And the skating community's kind of misunderstanding of who I was actually derailing me and confusing me. And so, you know, you start to listen to that. And at first it was like, oh, well, no, I'm not gay, because that sounds bad and you're going to make fun of me for that. So not gay. And then later, you know, in my teen years, I was like, well, you know what? No, I want to be happy. So like, I'm going to listen to those people and not listen to those people. And I'm going to come out as a gay man because, you know what? That's what y'all have been telling me. And I want to go against what, you know, having to listen to you anymore. So yeah, I'm gay. And I lived that life for 10 years. Spent 10 years here in New York City exploring my sexuality, exploring just like what that meant to be queer and to be gay. And it really did a lot for me. In those years, I was also very depressed about not being a skating competitor anymore. And so late in my 20s, I just kind of started, and actually I think it was this, late 20s, I think I was like 28 years old, started thinking like, whatever happened to that little Eliot inside of me that was talking about her gender so differently? Where did that go? You know, that was such a huge part of my childhood. Like, that doesn't just disappear. And so I started asking myself, like, are those feelings still there? And it was a slow road to be able to get where I am now, where I am very proud to say that I'm trans, very proud to say that I'm non-binary. And I can even kind of explain that a little bit more too. Transgender is an adjective to describe somebody's gender. My gender is non-binary. I'm kind of sick of the gender game. That's not who I am. It's never been who I am. I'm just me. I love to wear makeup. I love to wear very feminine clothes. I love to just adorn myself with sparkles and nonsense every single day. And that's who I am. And if people perceive me as one way or the other, that's really none of my business. I'm just doing me. The trans experience is definitely something that I feel very connected to. I grew up knowing that the sex I was assigned at birth was not true to who I was. And that confusion, that trauma, that sadness that all brings, that's the trans experience for me. And so I wear it with a badge of honor. And I am very proponent of protecting trans children. And that's my big message. So is that me?
Yeah.
Is that enough?
Yeah, I'm just, honestly, Eliot, I'm so in awe of you and so grateful for you to, give back to skating, to do the work that you feel like that you've come to this place and like gotten to know deeply and truly who you are, and then be able to stand up and say, and hey, I'm visible for everybody else that's going through that. And just to hear you so succinctly describe that and make it a language that everyone can understand, I think is such a gift to us. So thank you so much for what you do, who you are, and the light that you bring to every room and Instagram live that you're in. So one thing I heard though that is interesting to me is that
sorry, my New York City ambulances are gonna like really mess up the audio.
Oh, good. Ambulance is here for it. I was wondering, in sport and in skating especially, we're assigned labels. Even like starting with gender and starting with discipline of our sport, it's like Eliot's the gay one, or Kaitlyn and Andrew are the this one, or it's like we're assigned these identities very early on, and it's really hard to let go of that, what has seemed to have been put on us. And so I'm wondering, how did you break free of that and now embrace, and in a way, the label that you are now? How have the labels now served you as opposed to holding you back?
Well, I think it's interesting. I think it's kind of like two different things, because in one hand, you know, people were telling me like, "Oh, you're so feminine," and like I didn't. It sounded bad coming out of their mouths, but like I loved my femininity. So like
Mm-hmm.
it was hard to hate something that I also really loved. So these boxes that I was put in were actually things that I at the back of my mind, I was really proud of it. I was proud that I was labeled as kind of like a lyrical, pretty skater on the ice, moving to music. But it was something that like I was made fun of for, but I was like proud of it and was rewarded sometimes for that too. So
Mm-hmm.
it was always kind of like a push and pull of like, how much do you lean in or how
Mm-hmm.
much do you play the game? So,
Right.
you know, I really wanted to skate to more lyrical music. I think I would have loved to do a Swan Lake growing up. I would have loved to do like a Sugar Plum Fairy short program. Like,
Mm-hmm.
beautiful. I was really gypped
Mm-hmm.
from that. But, you know, I was still able to kind of say, okay, I'll skate to this like not feminine music and I'm going to do it in a very lyrical and very musical way. And so you know, I tried to say like, I'll play your game,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm going to try my best to do it like in my own way. And I
Mm-hmm.
think as like I get older, I really ask myself every single day to let down my desire to make other people happy and to please other people and
Mm-hmm.
and to lean into what I feel that I want to be even that day because it changes day by day. Sometimes I want to fly under the radar and sometimes I want to paint fake tears on my face and I want
Mm-hmm.
to not fly under the radar. So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like sometimes the labels that we are given, people will deliver it with judgment, but some of those labels sometimes they can end up being the thing that you wear really proudly. So I think that there is kind of like there's a push and pull there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I've noticed this about myself even. I identify as a queer woman, and after coming out of competition and allowing myself the time and space to get to know who I was and all of those things that I'd been burying because I thought it wasn't okay to be. Um, it is so interesting how what my perceived weakness is, I feel is now my greatest strength. You know,
Right.
and we find so much strength in our creativity and uniqueness. And so I just think if there are any young skaters that are listening, whether you relate to us, whether you're queer or not, be so proud of who you are and all of your little things that make you different, because those are the things that you will love in the end. And I think that if I'd heard that as a young person, that might have given me a little bit of a shift of perspective.
Right? Can you imagine? Yeah. Yeah, and I think about that a lot. Like even, you know, when we were young, if we would have been
Mm-hmm.
able to see and hear a conversation like this being promoted by a big federation like Skate Canada, that
Mm-hmm.
would have been just so profoundly impactful to us as children. Like beyond, I know, I get shivers thinking about that too,
Yeah, me
really.
too. Me too.
Now, I heard you say something too that was so interesting, you know, and we're, you know, and yes, this is a Pride Month conversation. And yes, I want to specifically uplift the queer kids that are coming
Mm-hmm.
up the pipeline. But I think it is important to try to get everybody involved in thinking that this is personal to them. These boxes and labels and confinements that we put people in, yeah, it is very much we're talking about queer people, but these things apply to everybody and all skaters in the skating community. You know, thinking about something like a pair girl or just a freestyle women's skater, if they're very tall, if they're labeled as the tall one,
Mm-hmm.
you're written off. You're told you can't do certain things. You can't do pairs. You can't do X, Y, Z. That's not a queer issue, but that is still labels that are and norms that are put on this sport. And so, you know, if we get rid of gender norms and just in labels and boxes in general in skating, and if we all consider this a fight for everybody, yes, it's going to free the queer community, but it's going to free everybody because these confinements that we're talking about, they apply to everybody. So if we all reframe this and think about this as a thing that will serve all of us, I think maybe that's when we're actually going to get the change we want to see.
Incredible. Incredible. What impassions you now in, you know, it could be your day-to-day life, it could be your work that you're doing outside of the rink as well. I know you're involved in so many different initiatives. What's something that really lights your fire right now?
For me, I am equal parts very inspired by the young people of the world. I think that they are really coming in strong and coming in with the big change that we all want to see. I just like, I'm so, I get choked up when I really think about the work that they're already putting in as young children. And then equal parts, I feel very protective of young kids and of young queer kids specifically, and of young Black and brown children in the skating community as well. I want kids to have a different experience than I did, and that different experiences from a lot of other people that I know, other queer people, other Black and brown skaters. And I've heard so many stories where it didn't have to be that way, and it should not, will not, under my watch, it will not be that way now. So yeah, standing up for and protecting trans children, queer children, Black and brown children in skating is super important to me. So I try my best to have a visible presence online in my just authenticity and through my journey. I was kind of a visible skater as an effeminate man skater, and now that I've come out about my gender, try to live visibly as a trans skater in the skating community. I do a lot of work for DEI in U.S. figure skating. I am serve on the board of Diversify Ice Foundation, created by Joel Savary in the U.S., doing amazing work to uplift brown and Black skaters and queer skaters. I'm on the U.S. Figure Skating's DEI task force, so doing good work there for Black and brown skaters, equity in skating, and for queer inclusion in the sport as well. So these things are all really, really important to me, and I think the root of it is protecting and creating different and safer experiences for children in the sport.
Fantastic. Thank you for all of the work that you're doing. And I also just want to highlight that you are so intersectional. And for people that don't really know what that means, it's when you represent multiple groups that have either been discriminated against or racialized, and a lot of people fall under several different boxes, right? Like, well, these labels that we're talking about. And so I'm so proud to know you, and so happy that you're able to find the time and space to give back in all of these different areas that you feel close to and protective of. Sorry.
No. No,
okay.
I thought that bringing up intersectionality is super, super, super important. So I'm also a Colombian American skater. I'm a brown skater. Growing up in the sport, there were not many other brown skaters to look around and see on the ice, and certainly not many at a high level of skating. So I say that there weren't that many, but I also will throw out some queer and brown queer skaters that were such beacons of light for me. Rudy Galindo, the ultimate for me. He is just somebody who paved the way more than words can describe. Another skater that for me was like just such an inspiration, Emmanuel Sandou.
Yes.
Happy to call him a friend now and to kind of have a different relationship now. But for me, watching him compete and beat up Evgeny Plashenko at the Grand Prix final was like everything for me. Truly.
Shout it from the roof.
I mean, I'll say it again. He won that Grand Prix final as a beautiful, lyrical, brown, proudly queer skater. And that was so powerful to me. And so I try my best to take the torch that people like Rudy, people like Emmanuel have passed on, and I take that very seriously.
Yes, we love you, Manny. Quick question. So what I also love is that U.S. figure skating is doing a similar thing. Like Canada and the U.S., I feel like are really leading the charge in inclusivity and diversifying our spaces. And I think that we as federations should do more together, hint, hint. But do you have hope for the future of our sport? Now, I know that skating is changing every day with so many different people becoming more visible, and a lot thanks to the internet too, that we have access to see different bodies on the ice. But do you have hope for the future that it really can change, especially when it's a global sport? And what do you see as that future of our sport?
Another big question, I feel. Yeah,
Sorry, feel free to
very,
break it down however you feel comfortable.
definitely feel like the changes are coming. And maybe for my anxious little brain, it's happening too slowly. I want to see these changes just like come in rapid fire, but I know that that's not how it works. But I know that, yeah, there was a reckoning within the skating community 2 years ago. And I think that a lot of skaters really had a great wake-up call about racial inequality and racial mistreatment in the sport of skating. And I think that people are kind of the new conversation is around trans inclusion in sports, maybe more specifically trans women inclusion in sports. And I think the right people are putting in the work to make these changes happen. And even if it means that the powers that be are going to be, digging their heels in the sand and kind of putting up resistance, I know that there is a different level of force pushing to make these changes happen. And, I put you in that category. I put myself in that category, Laj Balde in that category. People, these big pillars in skating that are actively pushing to see change. We're not backing down. Our voices aren't being lessened. We are speaking loudly and putting in work. This, showing up here, having a conversation like this online is enough. It wasn't happening a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So the fact that it's happening, this will have an effect. I know it. I know there's some little baby out there who's watching and saying, oh my gosh, I can be like Kaitlyn. I can be like Eliot, and I'm not going to be afraid, and I can do it. That alone, it's going to have a ripple effect, and I know it. And that's not, those are maybe like the changes that are going to be happening in little corners of the skating community that we won't see for years to come. But I know those changes are happening. And there are more, on paper changes happening. I know Skate Canada is doing great work for rule changes, language changes within the sport that are going to have huge, huge impacts. At the same time, I need to speak from a place of being very disheartened with a lot of things that are going on as well. At least in the United States, there is more legislation, anti-trans legislation happening and being pushed through than ever before in these past 2 years. And it's something that feels really kind of impossible to overcome at times. The amount of hate directed at the trans community and maybe specifically trans children it's really hard to swallow. It's hard to think about. But that's what fuels me wanting to put in more work to be the opposite voice that's going to be louder than the opposition. So my view for the future, I want to see some of these gender norms be torn down within the sport. I want to see a lot of barriers torn down. I want skating to be financially accessible to more people, to Black and brown communities. I want every single person to feel like skating is something that they can do. And I think that we can get there. And I think that, yeah, signs of that are coming. And I'm motivated to keep putting one foot in front of the other to make sure that happens.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. One last question for you. Are you proud of yourself?
Yes. Yeah, I'm proud of myself. I am proud of how I have been able to take some steps back to sit down and show my younger self some love that she desperately needed. I am inspired by my younger self so deeply. I think about her often. She was unafraid to go up to kids on the playground and say, hey, I'm not a boy. Do you want to play? And I could just reel that off in a flash. And, I'm inspired by that. I'm inspired by that every single day. And so I am proud that I have been able to get back to my true self. And I'm proud of myself for continuing to peel back layers of censorship because they're not all gone. And I think it's a lifelong journey. I think every single day I need to ask myself, don't care about what that person says. Don't care about what you're saying about yourself in the back. Thank you for saying that. But no, actually, I think I look great. And actually, I'm proud of exactly who I am walking into this world today. And so, yeah, I have deep pride for that. Yes, absolutely.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Eliot. Your boundless energy toward making a difference, your incredible incredible smile and love for this sport that lights up the room. Thank you so much for being here, for being a part of Skate Canada's initiative to help make skating more diverse and inclusive and safe. Thank you for sharing your story, your vulnerability, your time, and I'll see you at the rink in an hour.
Yeah, right, in a little bit. Thank you so much, Kaitlyn. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Skate Canada. Thank you for giving me this platform and being a gracious host. Thank you, Kaitlyn.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.